Good evening and welcome back to a house full of stories. Episode 32 takes us to the land of Kashmir. I have in my hands a collection of folk tales from Kashmir, gifted to me by a friend of mine, and this is written by Vinita Zutshi. Today's folk tale is called The Three Childless Brothers and Their Children, and this is how it goes. There once were three brothers who lived together with their wives. Though their lives were comfortable, they were deeply unhappy because they had no children. One day, as they were working in the garden, a holy man who was passing by saw them and approached the fence. Why do all of you look so mournful? You have a beautiful home and garden, you are in good health, and it is a beautiful day. What troubles you so much that you cannot take pleasure in what you have? He asked. The three brothers invited them indoors to rest. They offered him food and told him about the greatest sorrow of their lives. None of them had children. The holy man listened in silence. After finishing his meal, he took three mangoes out of his canvas bag. Eat these, he said, giving each to one brother, and God will help you. Then, uttering a farewell blessing, he left. The brothers ate the mangoes after dinner. 9 months later, each one's wife gave birth to a healthy boy. The brothers' lives overflowed with joy, and their house resounded with love and laughter. Their world was complete, and they lived blissfully in it, oblivious to everything outside. As time passed, the children grew, their bond as strong as that of brothers. Their fathers stayed in the happy bubble created by the birth of their children. The fathers did not know that for some time a dev had taken up residence in the city, spreading terror among the populace. People believed that he had come from across the sea. One day, the cousins were practicing their sword skills in the garden when their fathers had met the holy man years ago. The dev happened to be passing by and stopped to see the boys at their swordplay. Without any warning, he grabbed one of them and breathed on him. The boy turned into a little pebble which the dev put in his pocket. Seeing this, the other two ran home in fright and told their fathers what had happened. The parents of the boy who had been turned into a pebble beat their heads in chest. They cried and howled and wailed, but none of this helped to bring their son back. They went to many powerful people in the city, requesting their help to fight the dev. But they pleaded in vain. The dev was so dreaded that nobody was willing to even consider helping the distraught parents. Years passed. The two cousins, still children, grew stronger and more skilled. They still missed their cousin terribly, remembering clearly how the dev had turned him into a pebble and pocketed him. As they practiced their moves one evening, they moved towards the jungle some distance away from their home. Unspoken, they shared the same thought. Today would be the day they would find the dev, kill him, and rescue their cousin. As they went deeper into the jungle, they came upon a tall tree with an agar panchin's nest perched right at the top with two little chicks in it. One of the cousins saw a serpent snaking its way towards the nest to make a meal of the chicks. He leaped up at the serpent, chopping it into pieces. In a short while, the mother Agar Panchin returned and saw the cousins wielding their swords at the foot of the tree. Certain that they were trying to harm her fledglings, she prepared to attack and drive the boys away. As she was about to dive down, the chicks told her that these boys had killed a snake to protect them. Hearing this, she dived down to thank the boys for keeping her children safe. The three of them began talking, and by the time the boys had to return home, she had become firm friends with them. The boys reached home to find their uncle weeping inconsolably yet again. The loss of his son was ever fresh, and he could not ever move on. The boys swore an oath that they would not rest until they had found the whereabouts of the dev who had stolen their cousin. They left the house immediately, and as they did so, They ran into the holy man who had given their fathers the mangoes. But the boys did not know this. The holy man asked them who they were and where they were headed. The boy who had cut up the snake said they wanted to free their cousin from the clutches of the dev and asked for the holy man's blessing. The holy man said, "Son, the dev you seek lives across the seven seas, but this is not the time for you to go after him. Go back home. After all, you have fulfilled your vow. You now know the place where the dev can be found." The boys were unwilling to return but did not know how to negate the holy man's suggestion. So they bowed to him and turned their footsteps homeward. Early the next morning, the boy who had saved the Agar Panchin's children crept out of the house before dawn. He had spent the whole night awake, wondering whether or not to take his cousin with himself. Finally, he had decided it would be best for him to go alone. After all, who knew what fate had in store for him? If he were to come face to face with the dev and lose, at least one child would still be at home to solace the three sets of parents. He carried with him as much money and as many valuables as he could to help him succeed in his objective. As he walked away from the house, he wondered how he would cross the seven seas to reach the place where the dev lived. He was still pondering this when a huge shadow seemed to descend on him. He looked up to find his friend, the Agar Panchin, flying over him. "Where are you going, my friend?" she asked. The boy told her everything that had happened and said, "I am on my way to kill the dev who lives across the seven seas." "Let me help you," said the Agar Panchin. "Climb onto my back, hold on to my wings, and let me fly you across the seven seas." The boy climbed on and she took off. When they landed, the Agar Panchin said, "This is where you will find the dev." She plucked a feather from her wing and gave it to him. "If you ever need my help, hold this feather up to the sun and I will come to you." The boy put the feather in his pocket and began looking for the dev. Wherever he looked, strange sights met his eyes. He saw people, but they were distorted, unlike any people he had ever seen before. He saw houses, but they were unlike any houses he had ever seen before. He saw paris and other beings he could not name. He walked on, constantly turning his head from left to right to take in every detail. His footsteps slowed when he reached what appeared to be a magnificent palace. A strange force drew him in, and he walked silently up to a door. When he opened it, he found himself looking into a grand room in which a peri-like woman appeared to be sleeping. She did not stir even when he walked into the room and gazed at her sleeping form. A large stone lay near the head of her bed, and a necklace of beads lay at her feet. He picked up the necklace and put it around the woman's neck. She opened her eyes immediately and said, "Boy, what are you doing here? The dev who has imprisoned me is about to arrive. If he finds you here, he will kill you. You are just a boy and cannot fight him." "I have come to kill a dev," the boy replied. "Tell me, where is the dev who has imprisoned you?" "Do not be foolish, boy," she said. "Did you see the hundreds of stones in the courtyard as you came in? Each stone is actually a human being. He cast a spell on each one and turned them into stones. He kidnapped me years ago and now holds me captive in this palace." The boy was overjoyed. "This is the very dev whom I have come to kill." The pari could not believe her eyes. "Boy, you are still a child. You cannot kill him. Nobody can kill him." "Why not?" "Because beyond this sea is another sea. Beyond that sea is a row of 3 shops. In the farthest shop is a parrot in a cage. The dev's life is contained within that parrot. As long as that parrot is alive, the dev cannot be killed." She grew agitated. "But go now. The dev may come back at any moment, and if he finds you here, he will either kill you or turn you into a stone." The boy left the palace, wondering how he would cross the sea and reach the parrot in the farthest shop. He remembered the feather of the Agar Panchin, and he held it up to the sun. Almost instantly, the sky darkened with the shadow of the Agar Panchin's enormous wingspan. She landed before him and said, "You look worried. What is the matter? Why have you summoned me?" The boy told her about his new problem. As before, she asked him to clamber onto her back and flew him past the last sea where he would find the row of shops. He dismounted, found himself in an even more unusual place than where the dev lived. There seemed to be endless rows of shops in every direction. How would he locate the shop that had the parrot? Firstly, it would take time, and secondly, the dev might find him and kill him before the parrot was found, which was certainly not part of the boy's plan. It was clear that if he could not find the parrot would have to find him. He decided to use the money and valuables he had carried from home. He walked the streets shouting loudly like a hawker selling his wares, but instead of asking people to buy something, the boy kept saying, "Does anyone have a parrot for sale? I am a buyer of parrots." One shopkeeper stopped him and said, "I have a parrot to sell, but it is very expensive." "How much?" The merchant quoted an impossibly high price for the bird. The boy paid the amount without haggling, and the merchant handed over the cage parrot. The boy immediately reached the bars of the cage and grabbed the parrot's neck in a tight grip. The dev had returned home a short while after the boy had taken off on the Agarpanchin's back. He sniffed hard and asked the pari, "Tell me, who came here in my absence?" The pari did not want to anger the dev, but she also wanted to protect the boy. She said, "Nobody." "You lie!" the dev thundered. "I know that a human being has been here. I can smell it. Where have you hidden him? Tell me this instant!" He raised a fist and stepped towards her. It was at that very moment that across the vast sea, the boy grabbed the parrot's neck. The dev fell to the ground in the pari's room. Enraged, almost paralyzed with pain, he screamed, "Who came here in my absence? Who learned about the parrot in which my life is preserved? Tell me!" The pari just kept shaking her head. In the meantime, the boy had summoned the Agarpanchin once more and was flying back to the dev's palace. He landed in the courtyard and walked up to the dev, writhing in pain inside the pari's room, his hand still choking the neck of the caged parrot. Gritting his teeth through agonizing pain, the dev looked at the boy standing over him and said, "Ask for anything you want, anything at all, but please let the parrot go. I will give you whatever you ask for. Just release the bird. I want you to reverse the spell you have cast. I want every stone in and around your courtyard to be turned back to what they were. Do it, and I will free the parrot." The boy released his grip around the parrot's neck so that the dev could pick him up from the floor. He staggered to the courtyard where hundreds of stones were strewn. The instant he reversed the spell, the previously empty courtyard was filled with hundreds of people. The boy located his cousin in the crowd, and they embraced each other warmly. The boy then gave the parrot's neck a sharp twist, and the dev fell to the ground in agony. Another twist beheaded the bird, and the dev lay lifeless. The pari ran out of the palace and thanked the boy profusely for saving her. All those who had been restored to human form also expressed their heartfelt gratitude. As the people turned towards their homes, the boy lifted the figure the Agarpanchin had given him. Almost instantly, she appeared with one of her children, ready to carry the cousins home, where the families rejoiced at being reunited. And so, that was the Kashmiri folk tale, The Three Childless Brothers and Their Children. Quite an adventurous tale, I must say. Wouldn't you agree? Stay tuned for the next episode of A House Full of Stories, coming shortly, 2 weeks later, to this channel. Stay safe, sleep well, and may the force be with you.